What do we do as coaches or perhaps as parents? This can happen to you as a coach with a team of players, and it can also happen to you as a parent who has a child that plays a particular sport, and you love the sport as a parent, or you love the sport as a coach. What do we do when our kids' passion for that sport, or for what they're doing any given day when they come and play, whether it be practice or the game, what do we do when our passion doesn't match our kids' passion? Or better yet, what do we do when our kids' passion does not match our passion or doesn't meet our expectations for what we think the passion level should be in our kids? Well, that's what Pat and I are going to talk about today. So we hope that you're ready. We hope that you're excited and passionate about this episode. And if you're not passionate, we hope that by the time we're done having a conversation about this, you will find that you are indeed very passionate, at least about something. So let's get after it.
Welcome to the Coaching Life Podcast. How's that sound, Coach?
There's that voice. There's that voice we've all been waiting for the past 6 days.
No, that's a darker voice. That's a deeper voice. To make it sound better in the car
That's
for you.
According to this Roadcaster board that we have here, that's called a big bottom. So you get. I think Queen sang about that, didn't they? Didn't they do a song about that?
Somebody did.
But no,
There's a country song like that
it's
too.
that when you get in your car, one of those newer cars, like you've got a brand new car, and you probably got a good stereo in that thing, don't you?
I doubt it. I don't think
Your kids get in there and crank the bass up
That's not the
just to hear old Dad's voice.
It's an HRV, a Honda HRV. I don't think that's the
Honda
type
makes
of
a nice stereo.
Yeah, but
good
not in
factory
that car.
stereo.
That's a cheap. Like someone told me, someone actually told me this at work one time. They're like, "Oh yeah, you got a new car. You bought one of those CRVs when you don't want to spend as much money on a car." I was like, "Oh,
yeah, gee, thanks. I was pretty proud of this until you said that." So you're saying you've got the AM FM radio in it?
No, there is AM FM. There's Sirius radios in it.
Ooh, yeah.
There's no CD player, so it's a new car because they don't have CD players. But
All right, I'm gonna put you on the spot.
okay, here we go.
What's your main go-to Sirius XM radio station?
I don't listen to it.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't. I listen to music when I'm driving most of the time. Yeah, I don't listen to much of anything.
You listen to your own music then. You're not listening to Sirius XM music.
Right. Yeah, I listen to
like you're not
iTunes music, stuff that I download on my phone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Playlists,
Yep.
things like that.
Yep.
Yeah. We had a rental car. Well, gee whiz, it's going on 3 weeks now. I've been driving this thing around because Kaylee got sideswiped last summer, and so we finally were able to get her car in the shop. But it's been in there. It's been in there for 2.5 weeks. I think finally today we're giving the rental car back. But this rental car it's a Chevy Equinox, pretty nice little.
Yeah.
It's like a smaller SUV, and it has Sirius XM in it, and so I've had Hair Nation on.
Hair Nation.
Hair Nation.
Is that like
That's
hard
80s rock and roll hair
Poison.
bands. Poison, Motley Crue, Def Leppard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Tesla, Cinderella.
Well, I do listen to those. And I listen to a lot of Poison.
We
Guns N' Roses.
We blast that. I got a playlist with that. It's called hair band favorites, 80s favorites, and I've been blasting that in the weight room in the morning. 6 a.m. down there.
That's the way to do it.
Oh, buddy, yeah. They like the Motley Crue Kickstart My Heart. It gets them going. At least they just act like they like it. I don't know. They may prefer something
They're
different.
probably like, let's get our sets in so we can get out of here.
That's what it is.
This
It's
old guy.
motivating.
This old guy.
It's an external motivator. It builds in them. It ignites in them something that we call passion.
Oh, good segue. Nice. Passion, yes. That's true. It's nurturing passion in a way that maybe you might not think to nurture it.
Yeah, because it has to be nurtured. I
Yes.
submit that it has to be nurtured. But it's not something that's innate. People aren't born with passion.
I don't think it's something we do enough of. we think about enough of either. Mm-hmm. You know, we spend a lot of times thinking about mechanics and strategy and winning, you know, and that how to get better, how to develop. But that passion, that love for doing something, drive, we either don't think about it a lot or we give up on it easy. And we're like, oh, it's just not there.
Yeah.
You know, so I can't use this. It reminds me of Mike Singletary coaching. Remember when he coached the 49ers and he got up there in the press conference and said,
Yes.
Can't win with them. Can't win with these guys. Can't do it. Coaches often just kind of give up when they don't know.
What do you do with that?
What do you do?
Yeah, that's
tough.
That's a good place to start.
It's tough, yeah.
I mean, I got to ask you though, because you know, every week we have to come up with something new to talk about, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a reality of doing a podcast every week. And so, you know, here in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have some guests on. We already have a guest booked for, well, probably not for next week, but for the following week, unless we release this podcast episode a day later than what we normally do. Because we have them scheduled for Wednesday. Remember that? Yeah. We record on Tuesdays.
We're going to double up.
Podcast comes up on Wednesday. I'm good with doubling up if you
may
want
have to talk about that.
2 days of B-dubs is good with me.
We haven't been getting much interaction from our listeners, so I'm not really for sure they want to hear 2 episodes in the same week. I don't know.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, you mean actually post 2 episodes as opposed to doubling up our recording and then getting ahead a week. That's what.
Yeah. I remember a day when we used to be ahead.
Heck, we were 6 ahead way back in the day. Back in the day, the old days.
Yeah.
So, but when I asked you, hey, what do you want to talk about this week? You came right back with, and usually
You're
when
gonna put me on a spot here.
when you come right back with an idea, I know you. It's relevant. Something's happened with you, or you've observed something down at the fall ball field or on the football field or something, you know, in our community somewhere. You've observed something, or someone has talked to you about it and said, what do you think about this? And you've been thinking about it because you said, how about we talk about passion, particularly kids' passion when it doesn't meet ours or match ours or meet our expectations. And as when you say ours, you mean coaches or parents?
Or parents, yeah.
Yeah. So what were you? I am gonna put you on the spot. What were you? What made you say that?
I don't think there was one event that kind of brought that to my mind. I know I had some conversations with some people. We talked about how kids are different now. You hear that a lot.
Yeah.
You know, kids are different. I actually had a few conversations with some people about, you know, how to make their kid better. And, you know, things were said like, I just don't think they get it. You know, they don't want it enough.
I don't want you to reveal people.
No. I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
I mean,
But you know, to be honest, I'll be candid. I've thought those same things about my kids as well.
there were years when I thought the same thing about mine.
Yeah, and I've had conversations with my dad when I've kind of was complaining. I would guess I would say, well, they don't. They're better than me. You know, both of my kids are much more talented than I ever was. At their age, for sure.
That's a cool observation to make as a dad. Isn't it?
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Well, I guess I don't know how. You know, I guess it just means
both of mine had more success as well.
Yeah. But I always say that I had a lot more passion. that I wanted it more.
Well, that's a good that's a good thing to think about. I think we should definitely banter about that a little bit.
Yeah,
because how do you know?
How do you know? That's a great question.
How do you know
that's a good point.
Yeah, they have.
I think just different situations, and you know that you see your kids or you see players get put in. I think that's how coaches see it too. You know, if they're in practice and a kid eases up one time on a drill or something like that, you know, it's immediate. It's like, oh, they gave up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've seen that in different times out of my kids. That, you know, in certain situations where I thought I would be amped up here, I would be, you know, excited, and they weren't. You know, especially my older son, he doesn't get. He's kind of even keel. I don't know. You were able to coach him this summer, so you probably got a little bit of that. He doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low, which is it's actually
that's a positive thing, though.
It is a positive thing. I think
Tim Grover calls it. He stays cool.
Yeah.
When everyone else is getting too hot,
Calm as a cucumber,
he's
right?
calm as a cucumber.
But sometimes I would argue that could be a bad thing as well, because I think sometimes you need to find that extra
Little
gear.
fire is needed.
Of course, there's arguments all around that. But yeah,
Sure.
I've had this conversation with my dad before, and my dad just kind of, he just like shakes his head. He's like, well, they're not you.
Yeah, they're their own person.
They're not
That's
you.
true.
Yeah, they're different, and
Yeah.
you can't expect them to play the game the same way that you did. You can't expect them to see things the same way that you did. And I've been dealing with some stuff that that I've noticed from day to day. My perspective changes, and it's a perspective that it changes in a way that I don't really recognize it. But from one day to the next, like the next day, I can look back and see that I wasn't seeing things very clearly, if that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And in those moments where I'm not seeing it clearly, I kind of look out and I expect everybody else to see it the same way that I do, and that's a little different than passion. But I think that kind of, like I said, it wasn't just one thing, but it was a collection of things. It just had my mind thinking about, our approach to. We try so hard sometimes to make people. Oh, geez, this is a mouthful. We try so hard sometimes to make people see things the way that we do, and why? Why do we do that? And I think sometimes maybe
Why do we feel that's necessary?
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's challenging in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's the question. That's the question of the day. So what do we do then? I mean, let's say it's legit. Like let's say you told your dad, and your dad's like, well, yeah, I see that too.
Yeah.
So let's just say it's legit, right?
Right.
What do you do? What do we do as coaches or as parents when our kids' passion for whatever it is they're doing? So in our context, it's often playing a game, whether it's in practice, in a game, or whatever, just playing the sport. What do we do when it doesn't match ours? Or what do we do when it doesn't match our expectations? And I wonder if maybe we're asking the wrong question to start off. I wonder if maybe we should ask why. Why
does it not?
Why? Well, yeah. Why do they not appear passionate? I mean, why is their passion lacking, I guess? And maybe we need to consider that for a few minutes,
There's a lot of things to consider.
in asking that question.
Yeah, there is, sure. And we've talked about it, in different episodes of the podcast, just off the top of my head. It's a very simple, it's something that we forget as adults, but it's a very logical and simple thing to keep in mind, is that our kids, they're going through life learning about themselves and about the world every single day.
Yeah.
And if you look back and remember that, that's stinking hard. It's hard. And
Yeah.
with everything that's on their plate, I think as adults, we kind of we're able to internalize a lot of things a lot easier because we have experience doing it. We have
experience,
doing it.
Yeah, and honestly, we grew up having more time to be able to do that. And what I mean by that is this. I mean, as parents and as coaches, trying to pinpoint what's going on with our kids' passion, we're up against a really big obstacle, and that is this thing right here. The cell phone.
Yeah,
I'm showing Pat my cell phone. Sure. I mean, everybody's got one. They got it in their hands. And so what are they doing constantly? I mean, you have...
And an Xbox, consoles.
Yeah,
things like that.
yeah. And so what comes with it? Yeah, everything that comes with that, right? Mm-hmm. The constant stimulation.
Yep.
And not just constant stimulation, but the quick transition of stimulation, that TikTok generation.
Been eating up some TikTok lately.
Transitioning the Instagram stimulation, it's all there. And so, sometimes I think we're asking the question about somebody else. Why aren't they? What's going on in them? What's happening with them? And the reality is, we need to turn the mirror around and look at ourselves and ask ourselves, what do I need to do to adjust to meet them where they are, because it may be that the reason why they don't appear passionate is because they might just not be being challenged by you, or they might be bored, right?
Yeah.
Their experience might be a negative one, not a positive one.
Right.
And so you're not going to have passion about something that feels negative to you.
Sure. Absolutely. And that's I've said this for a while. That's the allure of those types of things, because I'll use video games as an example. We could probably have an experiment to proof this out, but if a parent would go into their kid's room and stand over top of them and coach them in similar ways that you see parents coach
Man,
kids.
I would love to see. You need to create this TikTok. I'm seeing this in my head right now. Yeah.
Maybe I will. You know what? Maybe I will start doing. I never thought about.
So here it is.
Content.
Let's storyboard this right here. All right, Pat, you describe the TikTok that you're about to make this week. You're going to go into Jeremiah's bedroom while he's playing Xbox.
Let him spin up MLB 2K1.
What? Say what?
MLB 2K1. It's a baseball game.
That's the name of the game.
Yeah.
Okay, 2021.
21.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll just critique him. You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. I've done this before.
You do it anyway during video games?
Probably a little bit tongue in cheek, but especially with sports games, like base running, I'll get on him for
What are
base
you
running.
swinging at?
Yeah. Why are you swinging at that? But nowhere near to the level that
Right.
we could.
It seems really silly doing it behind a video game.
It seems really silly doing it. Yeah, it does. But and that's the thing. And you follow these guys like was it Troy Silva? And I actually got on. I saw a TikTok the other day. A guy is spending a lot of time just kind of making fun of him. And Coach Deegan wrote his book talking about crazy parents.
He talked a lot about that stuff.
And everyone loves
crazy.
Everyone loves that, and and it's because it's so true. But it's so easy to forget, and we're always out there screaming and hollering our heads off and coaching, and it's if you're able to sit back and just kind of listen and watch, you do find some humor in it. But that's what it looks like probably to the unaware eye, to the person that's not paying attention. If they saw me on this TikTok coaching Jeremiah playing this video game, they would say, "Wow, that's silly."
In a similar way that happens in real life all the time.
Right, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, this is really what we're doing.
You don't even have to go overboard.
No, you wouldn't. I mean, it's really what it is.
Yeah.
And we're pound every pitch. We're saying something to these kids. We're putting pressure on them. We're making them feel certain ways. And
that's what you can be. You could pretend like you're in the third base coach's box. A typical little league third base coach's box while Jeremiah's playing his game.
Oh boy. Yeah. Yeah. We might do it. We'll see what happens. I'll have to post it on the.
Yeah. Keep your weight back. Keep your hands back.
Elbow.
Come on, quick hands now. Quick hands.
See it.
That's right. Hey, just make contact.
Well, I can't say. I guess I'm coaching a 12U team, and I do talk a little bit on the third base side, but I don't talk much about mechanics or anything. It's more. I usually say. I try to usually encourage them.
Approach issues.
The one thing that I really enjoy doing from the third base or as a base coach is when a kid swings at a bad pitch, I like to talk about their aggressiveness. Mm-hmm. When everyone else kind of says, "Oh," I like to talk about the aggressive. That's kind of my coaching thing. Like I want them to swing the bat.
Yeah.
I don't want them standing up there looking.
Hey, kid,
picture.
I like it. That's right.
Exactly.
Now get yours.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's one thing I really like to do. Right. I say that an awful lot, but yeah. Mm-hmm. What I would say is if we did that to our kids, like if you want your kids to stop playing video games and go outside more, go in their room and coach them as they're playing video games.
And you know what's going to happen to them? They're going to lose their passion for it.
That's true. Yep, that's true.
So let's go back to the question. Why have they lost their passion for playing the sport?
Because of how we approach it, right?
Because they've been overcoached.
Yeah, overcoached.
I think in a similar, along a similar vein, I think, and this probably is going to speak more to parents than the coaches, even though the last 10 minutes or so we've probably been talking just as much to parents as we have been coaches. But I think one of the things that that we need to do as parents is pause and take note of or discover, I guess, what our kids' passion level is for this particular thing that we have them involved in.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, because you signed them up to play ball, or you signed them up for dance lessons, or you signed them up to play an instrument, or whatever it is. And it may have been because they said, hey, Mommy, I want to play piano, or hey, Mommy, I'd like to dance, or hey, Daddy, I'd like to play ball. Not that you can't tell your mommy that, I mean, or daddy, the other things. I don't know why I switched it right there. I just want to include both spouses, right? But we need to maybe stop and ask ourselves, okay, what's their passion for this? And match their passion level with the involvement level. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is oftentimes the involvement level that we throw our kids into is matching our passion level. It's not matching their passion level. And I'll say this as a coach who is scheduling games, for example, or as an organizational, member, or recreation organization, saying, hey, here's the number of games we need to schedule for these kids this year and things like that. And it might very well be that that's because that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to go to these tournaments, and I want to drive over to Louisville, Kentucky and play. And I want to go up to Michigan and play this weekend. And I want to go and because that's fun. And it's awesome. And then we can hang out and late at night in the hotel room with our buddies and drink beer and all this stuff. and wait a minute. Who are we doing this
Who's
for?
it about? Right.
Yeah.
That's a big problem for recreational youth leagues, because what you have is a split dynamic of, and it's usually the coaching staff, because in youth sports, the coaches are normally parents, and that coaching staff is energized. They love the game. They want to coach it. They want to see their kids play it. So they're wanting as many games as possible. Whereas I would say maybe the back end of the roster doesn't match that passion. Right. And the parents don't match that.
Yeah, there are some kids on the roster that do match that passion.
Sure, absolutely, right. Yeah, but it's a split. You're not going to get, and that's a great statement there. And I would say this is true. Of course it is. This is true in every level of sports. Mm-hmm. You're not going to have a team of 15, 30, 50 kids that share the same level of passion.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So what do you do? How do you make that work?
Yeah, not just with yourself, but among the kids and the teammates, right? I had to have that conversation with my own son, because his passion level for the game was really, really high. I mean, as someone who wanted to go and play it in college and then ended up playing it for 4 years in college and now is coaching it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just where he was in high school. And so he would sometimes get frustrated when there were other members, maybe, depending on how that roster is, and other parts of the roster that they wanted to be there. They wanted to play high school ball. They enjoyed playing. They had played it all their lives. They wanted to win, but it wasn't the same. It's not the same. And so I remember having the conversation I ended up having to have with him was, don't get frustrated at these guys. You can't get frustrated at them. Right. I mean, they are not you and you are not them. Mm-hmm. And we've got to be able to just meet them where they are, and coach them where they are. And you just keep being the best you can be, but don't get angry because somebody's, passion level or somebody's, desire doesn't match yours, or love for the game, it doesn't match yours.
Yeah, definitely. That's a responsibility of your role. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You think about, a lot of times we do that. We look at other people and we say they're not living up to expectations, but what is your role in that, in them not living up to that expectation? How should you respond to that? What's your job? Yeah, I would say you probably can't find complaining in a job description anywhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can't find it. You're not going to find it anywhere. No one is supposed to do that.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. It's not positive. It doesn't accomplish anything.
And no one wants it.
No.
That's why you wouldn't put it in a job description. No one wants to hear it.
Not from an employer perspective, not from a colleague perspective, and really we don't want to do it. Right?
That's true.
It makes us miserable when we do it.
Yeah. We're not making it better.
Yeah.
But we got to do something. And usually and here's what you're saying. Usually the things that we're complaining about are things that really aren't in our control anyway. Because as soon as we complain about something that's within our control, something hits us or someone needs to hit us and say, do something about it. Or your own mind needs to pause and go, well, why am I complaining about this when I actually could do something about it?
Yes.
But usually we find ourselves not complaining about those things. We find ourselves complaining about things that are out of our control.
Yeah. And you know what it takes to figure out issues like that? You know what it takes to figure out problems, to understand what do I need to do to help this person be the best that they can be when I feel like they're lacking something, right? It takes passion. Mm-hmm. So, we're comparing this. We're saying, well, this person doesn't have the same passion as I do. Well, okay. Figure it out then. If you have so much passion, figure out how to help them do what they need to do. Figure out what's best for them. And that's why coaching comes down to the person, I think.
Yeah.
Because
coaching the person as opposed to the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you can't, the player doesn't have the personality. Right? The player doesn't have the emotions and the wants and the needs and things like that. They don't have the experiences of lunch, during school or physical science or whatever it is. They don't have that. Yeah. So your interaction with that person is what's going to make the most difference, throughout the course of the season. Yeah, looking at their swing mechanics is going to make a difference. Maybe. I'm not even sure. I've come to the conclusion that I feel like. It's hard. It's very difficult because you don't have enough time as a coach to work on a team's swing mechanics.
Every individual.
You can't.
No, you don't.
You really don't. That's why personal instruction is such a big thing right now, I think. And it's why it's so people think it's so useful, because it is. Because when a person is able to work with you, 5 hours a week or even an hour individually, an hour a week, just one-on-one, that makes a huge difference. Coaches can't do
Coaching
that.
a team. Yeah.
You can't do it.
Yeah. So we need to welcome both of those.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, too often we have coaches of teams
that don't want
that conflict with individual instructors, and then it goes the other way too. Sometimes we have individual instructors who maybe sometimes will bad mouth or talk down about the coaching of the team because the coach of the team may have said something or used a cue that they don't like or whatever to that, and so it conflicts with what they've been learning there, and so you have all this. But I think if we all realize, you know what, I don't have time to do what that guy or that gal does to help my player. It's not that you don't have time. It's not that I just don't have time for you. It's that you can't. You cannot invest your time fixing every individual on your team's individual skill.
Yes.
They've got to be able to invest that time with someone else or on their own. If you can. I mean, sure. I mean, if you want to be an individual instructor and a coach, you could do that. I dabble a little bit in both of those things.
Right.
But it's not going to be nearly to the level. The individual stuff is not going to be nearly to the level as the team stuff for me this year.
And I would say it would
Sorry,
take
Brad,
you,
if you're listening.
I would say that you're sacrificing it, right? And if you spent, you're sacrificing things that you have to do.
Yeah.
For a minimal gain. We've talked about this when it comes to data. To data-driven things, and how a lot of programs out there have the resources to be able to use data to really help them, and how you as smaller areas, smaller programs, we have to decide, what do we get the biggest bang out of,
right?
And I would say you could do the instruction thing, but you would probably spend every practice throughout the course of a season working on individual mechanics, and you're talking about 1 or 2 kids a practice. Because that's the time frame.
Yeah.
And by the end of the year, you may have improved their swings.
There may have been an impact.
But you wouldn't have improved anything else.
That's the truth.
And that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
That's not how you build a winning program.
And therefore, it sounds like you're doing this as well. Therefore, a handful of years ago, that all of the things that I choose to say when it comes to coaching hitting today is different than it was 15 years ago for me.
Yeah,
I don't focus as much on the mechanical aspects because the reality is that adjustment that I see that they need to make isn't going to help them in this at bat. It's not going to help them compete in that at bat. Yeah. That adjustment that I see that they really need to make on the mound is not going to help them out there while they're sweating their behind off and they're behind 3-1 on this batter and the bases are loaded. And it's something that I know I got to make a note of. We got to work on that in the offseason. And we got to spend a lot of time on that to make the proper change. But right here, they got to bear down and compete. So
And
what do I have for them here and now?
Yeah, exactly. Well, how can you help the most? I actually, that was a similar conversation that I had this weekend. And, I give credit to our buddy Kevin Wilson.
Yes.
Because his voice has been in my head throughout all these conversations. And I've been thinking about it because in that moment when you see that kid doing something, you see that player doing something, and you think, I can tell them to do this and it'll fix it. It might, but guess what? They may have no clue what you're talking about. And when you say your buzzword or your buzz phrase, or you tell them to do a certain thing, it may make the problem worse. Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, and I was telling someone this, sometimes when a kid needs to be told to swing down on the ball.
Yeah, sometimes he does, Alex Rodriguez. You're right.
Yeah, exactly. I don't ever say it, right? No, but
you don't ever want to hear anybody. You don't ever want anybody to hear you. Did I say that out loud? Did anybody? But I know exactly what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? Because maybe they're not getting their elbow in the slot the right way. Yeah. So they're not getting the bat in the path of the pitch quick enough. So how do you get the bat, which is upright, into the path of the pitch? You bring the bat down.
It's got to come down.
It's got to come down, and then
you're
it goes level.
You're
right?
essentially shortening it. Shortening the path.
Yes.
Right there.
Shorten up. Shorten up.
What does that mean? I say that a lot, don't I? 2 strikes here, shorten it up. Yeah, and what was funny about that was I was saying it, and this past summer, in fact, and the kids, I saw a couple of kids look like, what do you mean? And so we stopped for a minute and said, what do we mean when we say that? And we took some time in practice to talk about the different, sometimes your hands get out away from you, and you got to think about, like, exactly what you're saying is getting that bat in the
there's
the
your conversation,
and
that's
the ball.
That's what Coach Wilson is big on.
Yeah,
it's a
what am I feeling here? What are you feeling when you do?
And
this?
Everyone's different.
Yeah,
right. So it's tough. You better know what you're talking about when you're yelling instruction to a player at the batter's box or on the mound or something like that. Even when they make a play or don't make a play in the field, and so I think that goes back to what we've said. You kind of taught me this is taking notes. Taking notes is just it's great, and I would
for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, well, mainly for me, it keeps you from yelling out. It keeps you from saying anything.
That's your press pause button.
Yes.
Pulling that notebook out of your pocket.
Your process, yes.
Clicking the pen on, writing it down is your opportunity to press pause before you say something you're going to regret saying out loud.
Yeah, I'm still working on that, but it has helped a lot. And not only that, as we talked about before, that gives it tells you what you need to talk about as you go forward. So you always have
you won't forget.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
definitely.
We're pretty passionately here talking about some coaching points, but
yeah, we are. Got off on that tangent there about
you know what though? One of our greatest responsibilities, I think one of our greatest opportunities as coaches is to help our athletes understand that being passionate is a life skill. And I think that if you see a kid that's not passionate about what he or she is doing on the field, then it might be, maybe that's an opportunity for you to find out what they are passionate about.
Yes.
And to help them understand why it's so important to be passionate just about life in general, right? Because I think the people who are more passionate about life, not just sports, just passionate about something, right? In life, I think that they are the ones that are ultimately going to be the most productive in this world. And if that's the case, on a grander scheme, then it's certainly going to be the case out on that ball field as well. And I think in that, so again, that comes back to our, so as coaches, then the responsibility isn't as much, well, how do I get them to be passionate about this one specific thing?
Yes.
Just how can you ignite passion in them, period?
That's a great point. I think, I one thing that sticks out for me in that, and it's kind of changed because in the world that we live in today, where youth sports has become such an industry, we've had to, as coaches, we've been forced. It just doesn't work if you don't. You've had to make concessions with players playing multiple sports.
Yes.
So you had to figure out how to navigate this schedule of okay, I'll play coach, but I've got this thing that I really enjoy, and I've got some kids on my 12U team. One plays hockey, loves it, does really well at it. He likes hockey. He likes hockey more than baseball, right? And I know going into the season that he's going to miss games and practices, although he hasn't missed any practices because of hockey. He's going to miss games and practices because he has this passion for hockey. And as a coach, I think in the past it would be very easy to discourage that, right? No, this is baseball season. You committed that
while you're here.
Well, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, no, well, that's great. That's how you handle that, right?
Sure.
That's what it is. When you're here, be passionate about this. When you're there, be passionate about that.
Yeah. Be where your feet are.
Yeah, absolutely. But to encourage them to do things. I've got another kid that's going to miss a game because of a family reunion. Family more important than baseball?
We always say it is.
Some people don't think so.
Right.
But,
well, we say it in a general way.
Yeah, right.
Family's more important than baseball, but it's not more important than this game that we got this Saturday at 2:00.
Right, exactly. Yeah, true. And I've caught myself being more careful about trying to. I think it's a form of love.
Yeah.
I really do. And when I that's a convicting statement there, because I've missed some opportunities lately to do these things, but I look for them and I try to do it. But when I have the opportunity to maybe do something that isn't maybe expected, and I think when a coach looks out to a kid and the kid says, I don't want to miss, but I have this other thing, and the coach says, oh yeah, go do that other thing, go take care of what you need to, go do what you're passionate about, right? I think it's doing exactly what you mentioned, Coach, and we're teaching that kid how to be passionate, and ultimately that's what we're not teaching them how to win baseball games, right? If we're baseball coaches or about whatever sport, you could sub it in there. We're not teaching them how to win games. We're teaching them how to be good people.
Yeah,
and that's what as a coach, I think that's what wins games. A good program with good people that know how to transition from one thing to the next. But you know what? That knows. We're gonna have to bring Tim Lewis on the podcast sometime, because I'd like to hear him talk a little bit about the ways that he approaches coaching, because I've seen him coach a few teams now, and I would say that the cliche of they'll run through a wall for you. He's really good at making that happen. Yeah. And I think the foundation of that, and I may be completely wrong here, this is just my observation. I don't think I am. I think I've got a pretty good handle on it. The foundation of that is 99% of the time his players think that what he's doing out of love for them.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Right. That's going to make you want to run through that wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's an intrinsic motivation. I actually wrote there's a chapter about this in Building Champions. There's two kinds of motivation. I talked about external motivation and internal motivation.
Yeah.
And how we often focus a lot as coaches on the external motivation, right? Trying to external motivation is something has to happen in my external environment to get me riled up, fired up, right? Rallied, ready to go. And I think when we think about motivation and we think about, hey, let's get motivated, we immediately go there. And I think that those kinds of external motivators can happen quick. Like if you need a quick spark, right?
They're the easy ones.
It's a shot of motivation.
Yeah. But they go away quick.
It does. But here's the problem. If that's all we ever focus on as coaches, we're really missing the boat.
Yes.
We got to figure out what is that? Where's that internal? Like what can I do to really internally instill in them a desire to want to be the best they can be? And I think you just answered it there with they know that they love you. They know that you love them.
Yeah.
As a coach, there's no better way to give that internal motivation than for them to know that you love them. You're like, well, how can they know that I love them? Well, tell them, for one. Yeah. Don't be afraid to tell them. But they'll know they'll know by what? You as a coach have passion, right? You have passion. Yeah. Show them. Be passionate about it. Be passionate about the game. Be passionate about them. Yeah. There's certainly a reason why those kids would respond that way. And like you said, it would be good to have, as a coach, he might not be able to define it. He might be like, well, I don't know.
He may not. I
Right?
don't know,
It just happens. But it doesn't just happen. It doesn't just happen. You're feeding that internal motivation. And that's truly where passion comes from as well. Passion comes from within as well. Passion is not external.
Yeah.
It's not,
Well, you know what? And this is a good way to sum this up. And we've talked about this before in terms of depression. You and I've talked about it. And when a person is depressed, and it's just the way it is. It's not a black eye. It's just, this is what depression does to you. When you're depressed, you're thinking about all the ways that things impact you.
Yeah.
Everything is, this makes me feel this way. This makes me feel that way. As people, we need to figure out how we impact everyone else, and it's an attitude of serving, right? And I think that's the focus. If we're approaching a situation where we're talking about passion, and how do we get a kid to be more passionate? How do we get a kid to care more? How do we get a kid to understand where we're coming from? You figure out how you can help them do that, and not necessarily how you make them do that.
Yes.
Right? You're not trying to get them to do something. You're trying to figure out how to help them do it. And it's a big, how can I help you get there?
Yeah. And
how can I make you do it?
Here's a great irony in that as well. I don't know if it's an irony, I don't know if that's the right word, but the thing that you are helping them get to is to get their eyes off themselves.
Yes.
I mean, you were talking about serving, when you do something for the benefit of that brother beside you, as opposed to for your own benefit, you're going to do it with more passion. You're going to.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So part of that is, helping them understand why they play the game that they play. It's not just for them.
Wow, that's heavy.
Yeah, it is. It is. You said something a while ago about the kid that plays hockey on your team.
Uh-huh.
And I'd like to go back to that point for a second because it reminded me of, I can't remember who said it. I want to say it was the guy who does, what's the guy's name that does I don't know these shows very well. They're on Discovery, like Dirty Jobs or something like that. Is there a show called Dirty Jobs?
Mike. Here is.
I'm pretty sure he said this, and it's kind of a quote that went around the internet there for a while, on social media. But he said the key to success is not trying to find your passion.
Oh.
Don't try to find your passion, but bring your passion with you wherever you are.
Man, yeah.
And that's exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Is like as a coach, you're like, hey kid, I don't want to try to help you find passion in baseball if it's just not there. Mm-hmm. But I know you're passionate about hockey and you are playing baseball, right? Yep. And so you may not have the same passion for it, but bring some of that passion that you have. What is it that makes you passionate about hockey, right? Bring that while you're here. Like we said, while you're here, bring that with you. Yeah. I'm not asking you to give the same exact, I know you're not going to be able to because it's not the same game.
Sure.
It's not the same love. But whatever you have, bring it with you. And I think that's true for our jobs, right? I mean, I often, quite honestly, get more passionate about coaching than I do about coming to work every day. Right. Although I really like my job. I love my job. But it's a different kind of passion.
Yep.
But what I'm reminded of is a lot of what I do here is very similar to coaching. And so when I'm out there talking to those students at that welcome desk and we're just chit-chatting and shooting the bull, sometimes I'm reminded that these conversations are actually they're pretty important to them.
Yes, absolutely.
And in the same way that I may be having this conversation done on a baseball field, I'm doing the same thing right here. So it's bringing the passion that you have for something else wherever your feet happen to be in that moment.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that's why a lot of coaches look for multi-sport athletes because you build off of those experiences. And for this individual here that we're talking about, it's probably it's difficult for him to bring that same passion to baseball. It's difficult for him to feel the same way in baseball. So if he's challenging himself to do that, he's saying, okay, I'm gonna pull my hockey experience here and try to figure out, how to behave in this certain aspect.
Yeah.
When I fail or when I succeed, right? Or when pressure's on, all these different types of situations. What can I do? It's probably going to be tougher for him to do that in baseball, but you know what he's doing too? He's practicing. Mm-hmm. And then when he gets back to hockey, I've told some people that too.
This can actually make you better in that sport.
I've said that.
Yeah.
I've said that. I asked a kid to play baseball one year, and he said, I'm a basketball player. I said, yeah, well, I tell you what, you want to get better at basketball? And he's like, well, yeah, I'm going to keep working on basketball. I said, well, hey, one way to do that is play baseball.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? We kind of went through this conversation of, because you're gonna learn, you're gonna use your body different. You're gonna face different challenges. You're gonna struggle more. If you're not playing your sport, you're gonna struggle more. And all those things prepare you. It's just like life. It's the same thing. The way sports prepare you for life, the way you have life experiences during sport, they all kind of overlap with each other. Mm-hmm. And, again, that's where our focus has to be. In order to make people, in order to get people to be the best that they can be, we can't make people be as passionate as us about things. It just doesn't work. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Now, they may become as passionate as us about things over time, but it's not a switch. And you know what? It's not a weakness. It's not a failure on their part not to be as passionate, about some things that we are.
Yeah, and that's a great point. It takes time.
I mean, who loves Baker Mayfield more than I do?
You're very passionate about Baker Mayfield.
Kevin Stefanski, too.
Yeah, you're a big Stefanski fan. Were you this week still?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm feeling pretty good.
He wasn't coaching the defense there at the end, though, was he?
You know what? What did I say? I let him down, didn't I? I bailed on him. We weren't going to stop him.
And they stopped him.
Stopped him. Myles Garrett came up with a big sack.
Had a chance. Yeah.
I'm happy with them.
Good deal.
They didn't. I don't know that they played with the passion that I watched them with. No, I was actually.
Well, I don't know if that's true of any Browns fan. How do we get the Browns players to match the passion of the Browns fans? But you guys would have Super Bowls out the wazoo.
You know how? Coach?
Win.
Gotta love them. Fans.
You gotta love them. I'll tell you something else that will help spark a lot of passion in somebody. Win.
Yeah.
And that's not just a joke. That's true.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
And I mean, that's the other side of the spectrum,
winning.
right? Yes, it is. It's hard to have passion when you don't win. And so the other side of the spectrum, coaches, is we got to coach to win.
Yeah.
It's not just about just having fun. It's fun to win. And you're going to have passion if you help them become winners.
That's the thing. How do you help? How do you use this player to make the program successful? Mm-hmm. There's a way. You can use they have a role. They have something that they can contribute. Regardless of what their passion is, they have something that they can contribute. How do you get that out of them? It's not by saying, they just don't want it.
Yeah.
I can't use them. Can't win with them. Nah. Because by doing that, you're not strengthening the program. You're actually making it weaker.
Yeah.
In my opinion, anyways.
Yeah.
There's a role there.
I've got a point that I want to throw out here at you, and I jotted a couple things down about it earlier, and I'm glad that I did because I would have forgotten about it here because we're almost done. I'm pretty sure. What do you think? How long have we been going here?
I don't know. Let's see. I know I'm getting hungry. It's time for lunch.
Yeah, my stomach's growling. So anyway, about 50 minutes or so. 50. So you talked about one of the things. I think one of the things that. One of the points that was coming out in your multi-sport athlete, why it's good to have multi-sport athletes, is because you can help them see how this sport is, is helping you, and I think one of the things that you see in multi-sport athletes is that they tend to be, they know how to compete, and maybe it's because they don't play the same sport all the time. And so that's like, a new season comes and it's like turning over another leaf, and it's like, okay, it's a fresh start.
Yep.
And so they're constantly getting that, that, and they're having to compete in
that
this
competition.
New sport.
It's the constant.
Yes. Yeah. So competitiveness, I think, is linked to passion.
Sure.
And so athletes who know how to compete, I think, are ones that, like, if you think about it, you think about your players on your teams that know how to compete, those are probably the ones that you would say, they got a lot of passion.
That's a good point.
And
yes.
and so here's the point. Here's the point that I'm getting to. If you're going to probably have more passion, and we want our kids to have passion when they play, or passion for the sport, passion for the game, and you're going to have more the more you are competing. You know what doesn't help with this?
What's that, Coach?
Playing 6 games in a day.
Ooh, I thought you were going a different way. Yeah, you're right. You're right, because here's the facts.
I've seen this, man, firsthand. You talk about losing passion quick.
Kids don't get tired, Coach. That's the argument. Kids don't get tired. Let me tell you something.
Physically, maybe not.
Well, they do. But
yeah,
mentally,
that's a farce. Yeah, they do.
They do. Mentally, they do.
Just because they can do it doesn't mean they're not tired.
And I'll tell you what they do. They know they've got 6 games.
Yes.
You're not going to play.
They're bottling it up.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. And what do we tell them? Well, as coaches, what's one of the buzzwords we say? Leave it all on the field.
Yep.
Well, you go to a tournament on a weekend. We're really talking about travel ball sports right now. You know, those volleyball games. They'll play 6 volleyball games in one day.
Yeah.
I mean, these volleyball travel organizations do. It's not unheard of for a baseball team, you know, younger kids to play 3 and 4 games a day.
Right.
You know, and so we're telling them, leave it all on the field. Let's go out here and leave it all on the field, right? Let's start this tournament out right. Well, it's 7 o'clock in the morning, and the kid knows, well, this is our first pool game. We got 2 more to play today.
And I still need to eat breakfast.
And I still need to eat breakfast. You know, it's I don't know how we can expect them to have passion for 6 straight games. I really don't. I really don't.
That's a good one.
I think
we might get some kickback.
Even though
on
I wanted that to happen. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, as a coach, I've been there. I want, you know, but I realize now, yeah, you know what? We're not helping. We're not helping this issue very much.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a good example of the opposite of this is Friday night football. How many football games do you play in a season as a high schooler?
Yeah, 10.
10 usually, right? Unless you make the playoffs and you play more.
Right.
That's 1 game a week.
Yep.
Why are people so passionate when they come out of that shoot? I mean, granted, it's a different kind of sport. It's a violent sport and all that, and it's a rah sport.
Right. Well, there's a
But
reason you only play one.
There is a reason you only play 1 game a week. But I think that it's multifaceted, though. I really believe that that's one of the reasons why we do see more passion.
Yeah.
Because we know this is it.
It's limited.
This is it this week, buddy. We got let's leave it all on the field.
They're all so
And
important.
I can leave it all on the field because I got a week to recover, and I'm gonna come back next week and I'm gonna do it again. And I really think that one of the reasons why we don't see as much passion for some of these other sports is because of the frequency that we've got them playing games.
And it's not to say that some kids can't have passion playing that many games. You know, it's not.
You might have an anomaly or 2 or 3 that do.
Yeah.
I think majority of them don't, though.
I think majority don't.
I really do.
I don't necessarily disagree.
It'd be great to get in a whole team. I think it'd be really great to get a whole team that feels that way. And as travel organizations, you kind of do. Sometimes you're able to build that. And when you have that, those are the teams that are always winning, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but it isn't that way for everybody.
Yeah. And, you know, I always say that, you know, I would have loved to have played that way. You know what? In the back of my mind, I do feel that way. I'd love to play that many games. Because, you know, I grew up playing 14 games a summer. That's what I played, really. You know,
Most of us were like 1 or 2. You know, our game days were what, Tuesday and Thursdays or something like that, or
something like
Tuesday
that,
and Friday. Yeah, if you would play 1 or 2 games a week, and that would be it, and you'd practice the rest of the days.
Yeah, exactly. And I wonder too, because, you know, think about a high school season. A high school season is 30 games long. You know, and we have our
if you win a few playoff games,
right?
In Ohio, it's 27. If you get all your regular season games, in, most teams don't.
That's true. That's true.
Because of weather.
Yeah. You're not 30 is a cap almost, but we're playing our 8-year-olds 50, 60 games. Don't know.
And there are kids that have played, you know, and I know that the culture is different, the nature of the game is different, but there are kids that have played high school baseball and then go and play 70 games in the summer.
That's true. Yes.
And they look back upon their days of playing and they're like, boy, there's just nothing like those high school games though. There's nothing like high school ball, right? And I don't know. I wonder if there's a link there.
Yeah.
To the frequency takes it out of you a little bit.
I know, and I know we would, we could probably get someone on the show that show. Is this a show? I think it's a show on our podcast.
There's a light blinking right there. It says recording.
That would debate us on this. But what I would say is this, and we could stretch out as long as we want. I've always said this. If a kid, I haven't always said it, because I've been a parent that had their kids play 80 games a year, before. But if the 80th game, the 100th game is what I've said. The 100th game does not mean as much as the first. And someone might say, "Oh, yeah, it does." Okay, how about the 1000th game? Because eventually, the further you get out, eventually you're going to say, "Okay, probably not." And the fact is that love, that passion, is deteriorating over, across that.
Think about opening day.
Yes.
In
Opening
any
day.
sport.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Everyone's amped up, ready to go.
Yeah. We haven't had this in so
Been a long time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a good point, Coach. I think there's something to that. Probably something we need to look into. But you know why we're not going to look into that? Because youth sports is an industry now.
It is an industry.
And you can't
We're dipping into people's pocketbooks when we say stop playing as many games.
Yeah, okay. You can't sell Bud Light at the 8U tournaments if you're not playing, 100 games.
You can't make people stay in these certain hotels if you're not making them play a bunch of games and all this stuff. You can't charge $1,600 a tournament or a tournament and promise them that they're going to be seen by all these scouts who come and watch an inning or two of one or two particular players, and then they go to the next field and
someone's going to listen.
We're like, "Hey, did you see that scout was here from that team? Wonder who he saw."
Someone's going to listen to this podcast for the first time and think that we hate travel ball.
Yeah, I mean, we have pointed out some of the flaws I think that are there, and but we've also done it. We also we do it.
I think there's a threshold.
We played it this summer, so
yeah, we did. We didn't play 80 games.
Nope.
Right?
We did not.
There's a threshold. But you know what? I saw tiredness. I saw exhaustion in some of our players, and where it really gets you is the parents. They get tired too.
Yeah.
So it's challenging, and like I said, there might be people out there that can handle it. And I say that I think I could, but you know what? I really don't know. I really don't know if I could, because like I said, I played 14 games a year. I don't know that
and therefore your passion never waned.
Exactly.
And so as you look back on it, you're like, "Oh yeah, I would love to have more." Well, it's because you were left wanting more.
Yes.
There's something to be said about leaving people wanting more.
Wasn't fulfilled, right?
Right.
Didn't get everything,
Yeah.
My kids played on my 10-year-old, my 11-year-olds played on better fields than I've ever played on.
Oh, heck yeah.
As an 11-year-old.
Shoot. Yeah.
So that's something to keep in mind, but again, we got to figure these things out. And if you find yourself as a parent or as a coach looking at a kid, your kid, or a player, thinking, they don't have the passion, and I don't know what to do with them. Well, guess what? That's your responsibility to figure out what to do with them. And it may not be, their passion may not be what you want it to be.
Right.
It may not be focused on what you want it to be focused on. But they do have passions, right?
Yes, they do.
And it's our job and it's our duty to encourage that and to nurture that passion and to figure out what it is. And like you said, Coach, if we encourage passion, if we encourage competitiveness, those things cross over into different levels. You know? Most of the time, if a kid is a competitor in baseball, he's a competitor in basketball.
That's true.
If he's a competitor in basketball, he's a competitor in football. It just crosses over. You don't see, it stop. It doesn't turn off. So those are intangibles that we can encourage.
Yeah.
Forget about, if you can, the mechanics. Forget about the strategy. Forget about winning. Yeah. Think about that passion. Think about how to help them understand this is what needs to be done, not just in this sport that I love, son or daughter,
right,
but in life.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Just that comes back to everything that we always say.
Yeah.
It's about the people.
It is always about the people. Always. Always.
Be passionate about that.
Well, we solved any problems today, or
I don't think so.
Okay.
But we were passionate as we talked about it.
That's right. We had a lot of passion in this conversation.
We did. The solution isn't easy, but it's something we need to focus on. I think if we focus on it more, it'll become easier,
Yeah.
and we'll get better at it.
Yeah.
And it's it's something I need to do. It's something every coach needs to do. It's definitely something parents need to do. No, there's parents
Well,
out there that do it.
Oh,
That are real good at
Yeah,
it.
there are. Absolutely.
Mr. Dobnak was a good example.
Oh
of that,
my goodness, yes.
So the people do it.
Yeah. Yeah, even if all we get, even if all that comes out of this is, maybe one coach somewhere listens and when they're out there coaching the team and they see this in their players, they see like, man, we're just lacking something, why can't I get these kids to be motivated? Maybe if they just pause and think, okay, what do I need to do? Like I need to start with me, right?
Yeah.
Even if we just have that happen, I think it's worth it. It's worth spending our time in here talking about it.
It's worth it to me.
Yeah, me too. Every week, people have asked that before. How do you guys? Because we're approaching our 100th episode.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
we gotta think something great to do.
Something we've got some big plans for our 100th episode, folks. You just be ready. But people are like, you guys really keep that thing going. How? And really, honestly, I think one of the answers to that is that I know for me, I am more motivated as a person when I feel like I'm teaching something.
Yeah.
Like when I feel like I'm talking about something, like I'm giving something to somebody else, but it ends up, honestly, it's selfish because it reciprocates and it comes back to me and it feeds me, it feeds my soul, it feeds my energy, and I feel like it's making me a better person. And so I don't know. That's what somebody asked me one time. What do I like about teaching? What do I like about coaching? And the answer is I like what it expects of me.
Yeah.
And I like what it gives back to me. And I know that sounds selfish, but boy, you get so much when you give.
That's the blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason we feel that way. But yeah, I agree with you. I've been mightily convicted during this conversation over the last week. I feel that often when we get up here because we've talked about it before. When you say it, when you talk about it, it puts a precedence on you to follow it.
Yeah.
And it puts more pressure on you to follow it. So when you don't, it hurts harder, right?
Oh yeah.
And so
because there's something out there that someone can listen to and point to. There's a record of you saying it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so that there's an extra layer of accountability that's out there.
And there's an expectation that you build for yourself.
You created it for yourself.
That you expect yourself to live up to. And if you don't, that's rough. You know what?
Right.
That's sports, isn't it? That's coaching. That's parenting.
Sure.
That's what we do.
It's a risk.
Yeah, it is. And then, we fail. Mm-hmm. The good thing about that is what's important is the next pitch, right?
Yes.
Next opportunity.
So what? Next pitch.
Good talking to you, Coach.